Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Mind Catchers channel. Today we're going to do a look with the Soft Glam palette. So super excited about that. I asked you guys in another video, would you like to see a comparison between the Naked Reloaded and the Soft Glam? And some of you said yes. The ones who got to that portion of the video said yes, rather. So I'm going to give you my little tidbit. I'm going to put a timestamp here in the video so you know when the actual tutorial starts. Okay, differences in the palette. The outside is nice and padded for the Naked Reloaded. It's a very pretty palette, very pretty. You know Urban Decay does their packaging so well. You have the words Urban Decay Naked Reloaded on the back. It's showing you a few ingredients. It also has some wording and how long the palette is good for. It says 24 months. You also get 12 shades in the Naked Reloaded. I almost forgot to mention that, and that's very important. You have a large mirror, and you have 12 shades. The two here on the side are larger than the rest. I have to do my research and find out why. I know somebody said why. I just can't remember. Also, I was stating that they didn't include a brush in this particular palette. All the other palettes, I believe, have a brush except for this one. So that was a little different. Okay. Now, in the Soft Glam palette, you have your large mirror. There was a brush that I took out. It's over here somewhere. But it was, I think it's a dual-ended brush that was in this palette. If I can find it, I will definitely put a picture or something here. But anyway, it was a brush. You have 14 shades. You have 7 at the top, 7 at the bottom. What I like the most about this palette is you do have that black shade, you do have that dark brown, you have that, you know, that reddish, that burgundy, that deep tone. You have several brow bone highlights, several lid shades. You know brow bone highlights can definitely be used on the lid as a nice little shimmer or pop of color. Right there on the top of the lid, you have some mattes in there, some all over lid shades that are perfect. Turn my head to the side here. In my little opinion, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 for my skin tone. I feel like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shades that could be used as transition shades or all over the lid shades. I have a few shimmers that I can definitely pop on my lid. I have one that I already used as a highlight shade. Another right here. This could be definitely an all over lid shade. I think I've done something with a shade similar to this. I've only used this palette once, and that was on Patreon. So this will be my second time using it. But I love a palette with a nice dark deep brown or a black, and they gave me both of them in this palette. And then I have 14 shades and a brush and a mirror. So I think I'm liking this palette better. If I was not an Urban Decay fan and did not collect all of the Urban Decay Naked palettes, I definitely would have chose the Soft Glam palette. In the Urban Decay palette, for a woman of my skin tone, now if you're lighter than me, you may get away with more. But for a woman of my skin tone, I count maybe 1, because that's matte, that's bucked. Maybe 1 real transition shade. I'm stretching it when I go to the shade right next to it, that's Boundaries. And that has a little bit of a shift in it. It's like a little bit of a shimmer there. I'm appreciating the End Game. I'm appreciating that shade, that dark brown. The rest of them, in my opinion, are nice central lid shades or all over lid colors, and I like the Naked palette for that, but I couldn't get away with it with the transitions. Okay, lovely palette. but not many transitions for a woman of my skin tone. So that's my 2 cents about it, and we're gonna move into the tutorial. Primer, I'm gonna use the CoverGirl Lid Lock Up, and it reminds me a lot of my e.l.f. primer. A lot of people know I love e.l.f., love Milani's primer as well. I usually allow the primer to sit on my lid for about 30 seconds, and then I put a nice little base over. When I'm using neutral colors, I like to put a base as well. I have oily lids, so I have to do both most of the time. All right, by the way, the concealer that I was using was NYX Tan in the pot, and the brush that I just used was the Sigma 40 HD Precision brush. Okay, I'm just going to place the color Rustic all over my lid, just so all the other shades have something to glide over. And Rustic pretty much looks like my skin tone, but more even. And that's the Sigma E25. I'm also going to go into the shade Sienna, which is right next to it. A little bit more reddish tone brown. I'm gonna go into that same brush. I'm gonna start working that into my transition area. Now I have hooded eyes, so I'm just feeling for the top of my eyeball. I'm gonna put the palette down a little bit. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. I'm sorry, I was holding it a little too close. I promise you I can see. I don't wear glasses. I'm gonna go a little bit under that Sienna shade, and I'm gonna go in with the color Mulberry, and it's a deeper shade. Let me show you that one right there. I'm using the E39 from Sigma. Keeping it fairly low and right there in that outer corner. And we're going to drag that into the bottom lash line. Why not? And we go back into our Sienna brush and just go above it a little bit, blending out those outer edges very lightly. I'm going to tap into that black shade right there. It's called Noir. I'm going to very lightly tap into it because I don't want it to go too dark. Don't want it to go to a dark place, but I want it to be defined on that outer corner. So just tapping and dragging it inward and keeping it low. And into the bottom lash line. I'm gonna do kind of like a make-believe cut crease because I feel like cut crease is kind of getting played out. We've been doing it a lot, and I really appreciate whoever came up with the technique that they came up with because they made it a lot easier to do it. But sometimes I find myself cutting my crease even when I don't mean to. It's like you're doing it so much. So I'm trying to get back into the soft look. I'm going to use a Sigma short shader brush. This is the E20. I'm going into that shade called Glistening. It's right there. All right, so I'm going to wet my brush. I have a little rose water right here. I'm going to go into that shade Glistening and put it on the inner corner. Such a gorgeous shade. I'm just feeling for the top of my eyeball, actually. I really don't have a crease to go by, so I'm feeling for it. Then I take a step back and look at both lids together and see if I need to go higher or lower or whatever. And that's how I did with my little hooded eyes here. Okay, and in that very outer corner we had that noir shade, that black, and we're gonna keep it low, still keep it low, but drag it over a little bit so that deepness is still there. I like it. no eyeliner today. I'm using the Better Than Sex mascara. All right, friends, so I have done my eyes and my lashes. The lashes come from Amazon, so I will leave a link down below for those. I don't know the actual name of them, so gotta leave the link. For my bottom lash line, I'm going to apply a little liner to my waterline. So we're gonna go inside. And this is from Makeup Forever. And for the lash line itself, I'm gonna use this green shade from Estee Edit. Is Estee Edit still a thing? I don't even know, but it's called Twisted Teal. I've had this for a long time. So I'm just gonna brush it. It gives that pop of green. It's gonna show up even better once I put my concealer and everything under my eyes. It's gonna be very pretty. And I'm gonna wait on the mascara because I know I'm gonna spray some setting spray on my face at the very end. So let's just go into our face. And just so you know, even though we couldn't see it, there is a little fallout from the palette. So you're gonna have a little bit of fallout. All right, I'm going to use my Becca primer right on my oily spots. And now I'm using the CoverGirl Full Spectrum Primer everywhere else. Our foundation for today is going to be the e.l.f. Flawless Finish, and I have mine in the shade Espresso. I'm also using a Sigma foundation brush. This is the F88 Flat Angle Kabuki. Alright guys, before I start on my concealer, under eye and all that stuff, I'm going to put a little powder around my mouth. I crease a lot around my mouth area. I'm just using my ColourPop, and this was in Deep Dark. So let's highlight. I'm using the Naked Skin concealer. This one is in Dark Golden. I really like this because it's nice and smooth. And then I go back around with my brush. I'm not putting any new foundation on the brush. Just going around those areas. A little bit of contouring. This is CoverGirl True Matte Made. This is D90, the deepest shade they have in it. And I'm going to work that around the perimeter of my face. I'm going to take my brush again. Alright, we're going to go under our eyes with a little Sasha Cosmetics Buttercup Powder. I never use too much of it. Inner corner highlight, which will be the shade Fairy. And we're going to put some mascara on the bottom lash line. Adding a little bit of Black Up Cosmetics contour powder. There is like a highlight powder there, so I'm going to use that as a very subtle highlight. a little bit of CoverGirl Ebony bronzer as kind of like a blush. Gonna mix that in over there with my highlight. And as far as I'm concerned, my face itself is finished. I'm gonna use the Urban Decay setting spray. Now yesterday, guys, I discovered the most beautiful lip combo for myself. So the first thing I did was apply a little bit of Palladio's dark brown. And then I just took my finger and smoothed that out. Then I applied the shade Tulips. This is by ColourPop. And it's kind of a burgundy brown. I don't know. But it's pretty. And then the star of the show, this is Sepia Lip Gloss by Anastasia Beverly Hills. And there you go. Such a pretty combo. So I'm going to throw on some hair and I'll be back. Somebody laughed at me last time for saying throwing on some hair, but that's exactly what I did. So I'm going to go put it on and I'll be right back. All right, friends, so this is your completed look. And I thank you guys so much for tuning in with me today. I am loving the Soft Glam Palette. So I will talk to you guys in the next one. Cyber kisses. Bye.